boys and girls, I am going to show you how to make our weaving owl. Now, weaving is a technique where you use different items. You could use yarn, string. In our case, we're going to use paper, and we weave over and under another piece of paper. So in this case, the owl body is our one color, and then we're going to use that paper to weave over and under the owl. So we're going to create some lines or slits or cuts in this paper so that then we can weave our colors through there. Okay? So the first thing we'll need to do is have all of our supplies. We need to make sure we have some thin strips of paper, construction paper cut. I've cut these at a 1/2 inch by 12 inches. You'll need brown paper or tan paper or whatever color you want to make your owl body. You'll need a tracer. It's only half the body, and you'll see why in just a second. We need this little card here to help us space out our sections as we do that. I have some additional brown paper and green paper for a branch, white paper and black paper for his eyes and beak and feet, and then a blue paper for my background. I've also grabbed crayons and color pencil and white for clouds. I've got a pencil and some scissors, and I'll need some white glue also. So we're going to kind of move all this out of the way. So the first thing we're going to do is need to get our brown piece of construction paper and our tracer. Now I have trimmed this paper down already for you. So if you notice, when I place my tracer here, it fits, right? If I place my tracer here, his little ear doesn't fit on there. So I want to have it go this way. So I'm going to take my paper now, making sure the tracer fits, and I'm going to fold it in half. If this isn't perfectly lined up, that's okay, because that's going to get cut off. Then I'm going to take my tracer, and this is only half of the owl's body. I'm going to create the other half by my fold. So I'm going to take the edge, the long edge of the tracer, and I'm going to place it on the folded side of the paper, making sure the whole thing fits on there. If you want to save yourself one cut, you can slide your tracer all the way to the bottom of the paper, and you don't have to cut that edge. And I'm going to hold that nice and firm, and I'm going to trace around the edges. So again, the long edge of my tracer, the long straight edge of my tracer is on the folded side here. So when I open this, it should fold on that straight side. Okay. Before I finish, before I do any cutting, right here I'm going to go ahead and put my name, since I already got my pencil out for my tracing part, and that way I don't forget. I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm holding both pieces of paper together right now, and I'm going to go ahead and cut along that pencil line. Again, I'm cutting both pieces of paper at the same time, which will then create a symmetrical design. Symmetrical means exactly the same on both sides. So after I'm done cutting, this looks just like my tracer. But when I go to open it up, now I have the rest of my owl. I have 2 ears, rest of his face, rest of his body. My paper over so that my name is on the back. I'm going to now take my paper, and I'm going to fold up at the bottom of his body, and I want to make sure it lines up right there with that little indent in his head. So it's going to be a little tricky, but you can just kind of eyeball it, get it up there as close as you can. And I'm also making sure the fold line matches up. So again, my name is on the back. I've grabbed the bottom of the bird's body, the owl's body, and I'm bringing it up, making sure those line up, and this kind of lines up across here. And then I'm going to give that a fold. Now I need my little tracer piece and my pencil. And I'm going to take my tracer, and I'm going to line one side of it on the fold line and the bottom of the fold here. So it's touching the fold that I just made. And then I'm going to draw this line, and I'm going to draw this line. I'm going to stop right at the edge of the tracer. These are going to be the lines that we cut in the paper to weave into. So we don't want them too long, because then it'll cut the paper in half. Now I'm going to replace the tracer, again, at the bottom here, lining up with that line I already drew. And I'm going to do that. Slide it over one more time. Then I'm going to go to the other side, stopping at the top of the tracer. And the last time. So I had 1 on the center line, then I did 3 to the right and 3 to the left. Again, notice they don't go all the way up to the edge. I don't want them to go all the way up to the edge because I need somewhere for my owl, for my colors to stop. So that'll be this part right here, okay? Now I'm gonna take my scissors. This is really important that you take your time and go slow and make sure you stop at the edge of that pencil line. You don't wanna go too far, you'll end up cutting the whole bottom apart. And I had 7 lines to start with. Let's see if I have 7 lines when I finish here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I'm going to fold this back down, and now I have my slits that I will weave my paper into. Okay. As far as what color paper you have or use, it's totally up to you. I've given you a little basket of paper. It's got a bunch of different colors in it. Those of you at home will need to have an adult help you cut those into smaller pieces. But I'm just going to pick any color. I don't know, purple maybe. And then I'm going to start by going under the first one, the first piece of paper, which is here. Then I'm going to go over the next piece of paper. Then I'm going to use my hand on the back so I can kind of push these guys up. And then I'm just going to use this hand to guide. So under that one, under that one, under that one. See, I'm just pushing up the ones that I want up. And then I'm just going to center that up and push it up to the top. And I'll pick my next color. Now, since I went under on the first one, I need to do the opposite. So what's the opposite of under? Over. So this time I'm going to push up the second one because I want to go under that one, then the third one, then the fourth one, and then the last one. And the way that you can check to make sure that you're right, when you slide this new piece of paper up, the two colors don't touch each other. You should have like a checkerboard happening. So since this is brown, that should be yellow, that's purple, that's brown. And again, I centered them side to side. Now that I've done that last green one, I'm going to scoot these guys up and I'm going to see if I have enough room. I don't feel like I do, so I'm just going to kind of put that there. I don't think that's going to fit. So I'm looking at the end of the green and the end of that, and I don't think it's going to fit. So that's all I'm going to get in there is 4. So then I can kind of spread those back out if I want to. Okay. I'm just going to make sure that they're kind of even on both sides. Okay. Now I'm going to cut his wings because I want his wings to kind of go out at an angle. So what I'm going to do after I've kind of centered them side to side, I'm going to fold this paper in half, and then on my bottom color, which in my case is green, I'm going to kind of draw a line from the top one down. So I'm going to go about right here, and then I'm going to cut all of those off so that I'm at the edge. So notice when I folded it with my name on the inside, on the outside I mean. So now my wings go up at an angle. Okay, so we've completed our weaving of the owl and cutting of his wings. So now we're going to glue it onto the blue paper. We want to glue it about the middle, maybe a little over to one side, so that when we put our branch on there, there's some space. So we're going to kind of glue him over here. So I'm going to flip him over, make sure I see my name so I have the ugly side up. And then I'm just going to put some dots of glue. So I'm going to do a dot here and a dot on the wing. Dot on the there, doop, 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 doop. And then I'm going to do that here. So doop, 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 doop. And then I'm going to do some dots across the top of his head. And these are quick, so I'm not holding my glue and making it squirt out a big blob. I'm squeezing it a little bit, and as it's dripping, I'm moving my piece. So I'm going to do that down the middle. So I went back and forth, so one on the body, one on the wing, one on the body, one on the wing, one on the body, one all the way down. And then I did a line down the middle, a line across the top. And now I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to place it. And again, I'm going to place it maybe about the hand up from the bottom and a hand down from the top, and I'm kind of close to the side. You probably want your wings to hang off the side because then you have the right exact place to put your branch, because then you're going to take that and you're going to add your branch to it. And if you have him too far in the center, he won't be able to sit on the branch. Okay? So I've placed him there. So that's the completion of today's lesson. Okay, now that this has had a chance to dry, we're gonna put our eyes, our beak, our feet, a branch, some greenery, and some clouds in the background. So I'm gonna grab some white paper. I have 2 pieces of white paper and a smaller piece of black paper. The white's gonna be for the eyes. If I take both pieces of this paper together at the same time and cut them out, it will end up creating 2 of the same thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw a big circle. I wanna make a big eye on there because owls have big eyes because they need to see at night. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut both pieces of paper at the exact same time, so that will result in me creating 2 of the exact same circle. Now I'm going to take this part here and show you that I have 2, but see how there's some pencil line on there? That's not real nice to look at. So I'm gonna flip both of these over so now I have 2 clean things for his eyes. Get rid of my white. I'm gonna take my black, I'm gonna fold that in half, but I do need to save some for my beak and my feet. So I'm gonna draw my circle a little bit smaller than the whole piece of paper. That way I have some extra. Go ahead and cut that out. And again, I see my pencil, so I don't want to see that, so I'm going to flip that over. That's going to be my 2 eyes. And then I need to get a feet and a beak out of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to go as close to that circle as I can, and I'm going to cut a diagonal line up. Then I'm going to turn this around, and I still have 2 pieces of paper there, so I'm making 2 of the same thing at the same time. Then I'm going to go right next to it, and I'm going to cut diagonally down to the other corner. That made like a big triangle. Flip it back around this bottom part here. Now I'm going to try to cut out a little triangle. So I went in a diagonal and then went in another diagonal. Doop. And then once those are removed, we have 2 little, get rid of that junk, little feet. And I left them a little bit longer so that there's some area for me to put some glue on. Otherwise I got to put glue on the back of that and I'll end up having glue all over the place. And then my last thing I need is to make a beak. Now I do have some leftover paper here. I could maybe cut something out of that. But the way that I cut and folded the paper, I have this great triangle piece that's left over, and that makes great for his beak. Now if you don't have that piece, or you cut your feet a little bit different than I did, you may want to make a beak a different way. I'm gonna move his feet out of the way because I wanna put a branch underneath there. So I'm gonna take my brown paper here and I'm gonna make a branch. So I'm gonna kind of see where he is and what it's going to look like. So I'm going to draw kind of just a gentle wavy line, maybe go to a point, and then maybe another wavy line. You do have this whole piece of paper to make your branch, so you can make it a lot thicker if you want. I wouldn't just glue down the rectangle paper because I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen a rectangle branch. I'm just drawing that. And then I'm going to slip it up underneath his bottom here so he looks like he's sitting on the branch. Because if I put it here, then he's not going to be touching the branch. Once his feet will barely be touching and it's like standing up. But I want him to be sitting on the branch, or perched on the branch is what it's called. So I would glue it right about there. And then I'm going to take my green and I'm going to maybe make a little like branch at the end here. Now if you want to draw it on first, that's fine. Kind of like a cloud shape. If you feel like you're good at cutting, you can just go ahead and cut. If you want, you could make a couple different greeneries, maybe one at the end and one down here, like, and there's another branch coming out. You could also, if you have extra brown paper, you could be more little creative with it and maybe add something else. Maybe I could cut that a certain way to make that branch get a little bit longer. Maybe there's a branch coming off of that branch, like a fork in the branch. Cutting out my cloud shape here. And again, I'm going to flip this over because I want the pretty side, so that'll be kind of glued right there. I think I do like the idea of making another branch coming out. So I think I'm going to take this guy. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And I'm going to just tuck that up underneath there like that. Look at that. Okay? So kind of got everything, and again, like we do all the time, we always kind of get everything situated and ready to go before we glue. We never glue until everything is ready to go. There's a couple more things I want to do with the branch before I glue it down. So I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to draw some kind of like wood lines in it so it looks a little more woody. And then I'm going to also take my green and kind of add some more green lines to the branch. Okay, so now I'm going to move kind of everything off the way. We're always putting glue on the smaller thing and gluing it to the bigger thing. So I will never put glue right on the owl's head. I will put glue on the eye that is going to go on the owl's head. So I'm going to flip my glue bottle over. Sometimes it takes a second to get there. If you are using a glue stick, you'll have to put a little bigger swirl on there. I just put a few dots. And again, just like when we glued the owl to the paper, I'm not holding the glue and letting it drip and make a big blob. I'm moving it quickly as the glue is coming out of the container. Okay, I'm going to put glue on my eyeball because this is bigger than this one. So I'm going to put glue on this and glue it there. And again, you can be a little creative on how you put his eyeballs. Maybe he's a little confused. Maybe he got bonked in the head when he was landing earlier. Put a little dot on the back of the nose. Put that right up between. Feet, I'm going to wait a second and do the feet because I want to glue the branch on first. So I'm going to flip my branch over. Again, just a few dots. And that's a quick dot, squeezing the bottle and quickly moving the bottle as the glue drips out of it. Now this, I got to be a little nice about it. I got to hold on to this and I got to slide it up underneath his body and then make sure it's connect to the edge. And then I don't know if you noticed, but I drew a line on this paper, so I kind of have like a guide where to put that. So I'm gonna get some glue on the back of that before the branch dries. Slide that up underneath there, and it was about right there. I'll do my greenery while I have it. I don't remember how I had it. That looks good. Hold it there, and then I'll finish the feet. The feet, I'm going to put a dot on the top and a dot on the bottom. That way, watch, when I slide it under, there's glue sticking to the owl and to the branch. I got a little too much, so it squirted out. No worries, just leave it and let it dry. So a dot on both sides, and then I'll slide that up underneath. And if you glued your owl like I did last time, there should be a space around the edges when we glued it because we didn't put glue all over its body. We really don't need to glue that down because it's glued underneath. And then the very last thing we'll do is add some clouds. I'm just going to take my crayons. Now that I have everything glued down, I can kind of get my clouds where I want them to be. Ooh, my crayon has some color on it. It's making a colory swirl, which is kind of pretty actually. I just made a cloud shape, and then I'm just taking my crayon and making a bunch of swirls all together, kind of to make the clouds look a little more fluffy. Or maybe you could just do a bunch of circles and you just keep going until it's full. And then he's up on a branch up really high, so we have all this space below, so you could put a cloud there so that people that look at it know that he's up really high in the sky. I'm just kind of filling in some clouds here and there. And there you go. You're all done with your owl.